today. We'll just give it a few moments to let everybody come into the group. So first, I want to say thank you for joining us today. And for those of you who are just starting your journey with Arts and Science Online, I want to congratulate you on making that decision. We know that life can get busy, and you're taking the time for yourself to devote to your studies. And so we hope that this session you will find very helpful. So before I begin, I just want to acknowledge that Queen's University is located on the stolen lands of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We at Arts and Science Online are committed to ensuring our students have a better understanding of Canada's legacy of colonialism, act towards decolonization, and honor the lives and cultures of Indigenous peoples. It's important for us all to think about the land on which we live, work, and play, and find time for some meaningful action and personal learning. So if you are unsure of where to start, we will be sharing a curated list of Indigenous resources for you. This is a living document, and we invite you to share your resources with us so that we can update this document. So we're not going to post it in the chat today, but after this session, the recording will go out to everybody who registered, and so you will get a link, a document with all of the links that we will be referring to in this session. So we will be recording, as I just mentioned, the session today, and it will be sent out to everybody who has registered. So it could take about a week or so for that to happen. So you don't have to necessarily worry about, scribbling down all the information that you're hearing. You will be able to revisit this video at another time where you can have the information sink in. So we will ask you if you keep your questions toward the end of the session, and then we will ask you that you put your question in our chat box. And then when we're in the Q&A session, we will read out the questions so that everybody hears it, and then myself and my co-presenters will answer those questions. So to begin, I want to introduce myself. My name is Heather Carter, and I am the Student Engagement Lead with Arts and Science Online. And joining me today is Pam Brand, who is an academic advisor with the Faculty of Arts and Science Student Services Unit. She is here representing all of the possible advisors that you can meet with during your academic journey with student services. And we were supposed to have one of our peer mentors, Natasha. She was supposed to join us, but unfortunately she was ill and she wasn't able to attend the session today. So I will speak her slides, so you will get her perspective so that, we don't lose that student perspective. So another member of our team that is helping us out today is Lowell Cochran. Lowell is a member of our marketing, not our marketing team, our multimedia team, and he is here to help us moderate the chat and also just to make sure that our webinar is going smoothly. So, so thank you to both of you for being with us. Other members of our student team, our Arts and Science Online student team who are not with us today, who you may have already been communicating with, would be Andra Afosa, who is our student resource assistant, and Lisa Yateman, who is one of our program assistants. So together, we are here to help you navigate your online journey. So if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to email us so that we can help you and also refer you to the best possible resource that we can suggest. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. So what are we going to talk about today? So the goals of this midterm check-in session today is to give you some information that will help you determine how successful you are with your courses so far this fall term. Perhaps you may be struggling with your academic load, or perhaps you have encountered some extenuating circumstances that are impacting your studies this year. So we hope that this session will be helpful to help you make the right decisions moving forward to ensure that your success, that you are successful with your academic journey. So it's important to note that we will only be covering academic topics today. If you are struggling with mental health related issues, then we would strongly recommend that you reach out to Student Wellness to book an appointment with one of the medical professionals over there. And also, you can certainly also book an academic advising appointment with one of our academic advisors and student services to discuss your particular unique situation. So we will be talking about how to plan for a successful term, the importance of evaluating your progress in your courses, the impact of dropping a course or even failing a course. We're going to talk about important deadlines, as well as point out other supports that are available for your success. So we will now talk about how to plan for success to ensure how to plan for success in your courses. And this would be the slide that Natasha would have handled. So I will continue on with this information. So how to plan for success. So time management is very important. So how you manage your time effectively is one of the best ways to ensure that you're successful each term. Developing a weekly schedule that involves your work time, study time, and free time will help ensure that you have adequate time to do all the things that you need to do. The expectation of a 3-unit term course, 3-unit per term, is that you spend about 9 to 10 hours on studying. So this includes time for reading, course material, completing assignments, studying for tests, and participating in discussion boards and on-cue. Work-life balance is also very important for your success. Understanding your work-life balance, understanding if, taking 3 courses per term or 1 course per term, whatever might be best for you, especially if you're working full-time or if you're also caring for a family. Queen's does not require anyone to complete their degree in a specific amount of time. So it really depends on what's right for you. So you get to determine when your graduation date is, not the other way around. So trying to figure out the right workload can sometimes be a difficult decision for you to make. So you may need to talk this over with your family, friends, and, perhaps write out a pro-con list to help you make that decision. And also, again, you may want to schedule an appointment with an academic advisor as well. So, you need to figure out what's going to be best for you. Another tip for success would be utilizing study groups. So you will hear later in the presentation, and many of you might be part of our closed Facebook group already, but many study groups have started from our closed Facebook group, where you can find, peers in your class, in similar classes, where you can, kind of just connect to talk about all things for your particular course. You may write in the discussion boards and ask if anyone is interested in joining a study group within OnCue, the discussion boards in OnCue. Maybe the group decides to meet weekly or bi-weekly. That's really up to the group. Also, another app some people use to create study groups is the WhatsApp group. So, that might be a useful resource. So having study groups helps you with accountability and creates a sense of community to combat the isolation of online learning. Another tip for success would be utilizing self-testing. So Natasha indicates here that she uses Quizlet to make tests for herself, and she finds them quite useful. Some classes may already have quizzes available if you search for the course code of your course. This also utilizes practice quizzes available. Another suggestion Natasha has is utilizing the practice quizzes available in your courses or your textbook. So by utilizing those, it will help you engage with the material, that you encode the information more effectively. And if many of you have taken or are already in Psych 100, then you will probably learn a little bit more about that. So studying this way will completely change the way you learn and your perceptions of encoding information. Another tip Natasha offers is asking for help. So profs and TAs are there to help you. And if you feel lost or overwhelmed by a concept or an assignment, don't be scared to email your prof. They want you to be successful. You may be able to book a session with them via online office hours to get clarity on content that you are struggling with. You can sometimes, if you have a question, ask. Some people find it scary to ask a question for fear that your question may appear silly. And I can tell you there's no such thing as a silly question, because if you have that question, chances are somebody else has the same question. So don't ever worry about asking a silly question. So know the resources that are available to you, and don't be shy to utilize them throughout your journey. There are resources on campus such as SAS, which is the Student Academic Success Service. It's a free service. They offer a host of webinars to help you. Their website has a whole bunch of information. There's also student awards that can help, and student wellness as well. And again, we've already mentioned this several times, and we will probably mention that several times throughout this, is also to book an appointment with an academic advisor in student services to go over your program plan, ask any necessary questions about dropping a course, and if academic consideration, or if an academic petition, which is the new name for academic appeals, if any of that is necessary. So another tip is read the discussion boards in OnCue. So if you have an upcoming test or an assignment, read the discussion boards, because sometimes students ask questions there that you may have thought of, or you hadn't even thought of, that would be very helpful to you. So the profs and TAs often provide further guidance and clarification for upcoming assessments and evaluations. And so by reading these discussion boards, like just the general discussion board, then that's a perfect way of getting extra information that you might not have had if you didn't just seek out that information. And the last point on the list here for Plan for Success is preparing your toolkit. So Arts and Science has many tools to help you with your success. There's a GPA calculator that will help you figure out, your GPA. Do I need a certain grade in a course to get a certain GPA? Or you're looking for a particular GPA, what grades do I need in order to achieve that? So that is definitely useful. It's on the Student Services webpage. Students can also run academic advisement reports, but I think now, Pam, probably correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're called academic progress reports in the new Fluid update in SOLAS. But essentially they're the same thing. It just tells you what you need to take and how the courses you've already taken, how they meet the requirements so that you know what you have left to complete. There is a course mapping planning sheets on our course enrollment webpage that will help you map out your courses so that you can sort of plan your journey. This helps in selecting courses that you require prerequisites for, because you're looking ahead so that you know which course you need in order to get that desired course. And it also helps you determine how long it might take you to complete your degree. And so you can go to our Arts and Science Online pages to find that information. And I should probably note here that not all arts and science courses are offered in every year, every academic year, or every term. So it's very important that you look at planning ahead. So, okay, with that, I will now turn it over to Pam to talk about how to evaluate your progress in your courses. Over to you, Pam.
Thanks, Heather. So now that we are at the midpoint in the term, it's really important that you take an honest look at your progress in your courses to help make the right decision moving forward. So are you behind in your coursework? Honestly, I know we don't want to be, but are you honestly behind? And do you have time to catch up? So take a look at what percentage of your course assessments are still to come that you haven't received yet. Take the time to look over the course syllabus and determine where you're at. What do you still have to do? Have you received any of your grades back yet to determine if you can pass this course? So the other thing is, have you reached out for help? Have you reached out to your course instructor or the course TA? Have you contacted ASSIS? So they're the Arts and Science Undergrad Society, to find a tutor. They have that service available. Maybe reaching out to Arts and Science Online to be matched up with a peer mentor, that might help you too. Have you met, and here we come again, have you met with an academic advisor for course planning advice if you need to drop a course? As Heather said, academic advisor will come up quite a bit because there's a team here who are ready to help you. If you think you need to drop a multi-term or a full year course, then you will need to drop both the fall and the winters of portions of the course on SOLAS. So just keep that in mind. For one term, obviously that's self-explanatory, but if it covers both terms, you'll have to drop both terms on SOLAS. All right, so dropping a course can be the best solution sometimes. There's nothing wrong with it, but you need to know how that may affect your academics. If you're struggling with your course, here are some things that you should think about regarding whether to drop the course or to continue in it. So how dropping the course will affect your funding. So if you're being funded by any agency that requires you to be in a 60% workload, like OSAP does, then you need to make sure that you have a minimum of 3 courses or 9 units in both fall and winter term. That's the minimum that they will accept. Is the course you're considering dropping a prerequisite for another required course? Look ahead, see what courses are coming. Is this one required for you to progress in your plan? Also, is this course going to be offered again in the fall, in the summer term, or next year? Not all Arts and Science Online courses are offered each year or during the summer term. Keep an eye on the Arts and Science Online webpage to see when the courses may be offered again. Are you planning to graduate this year? So be aware that if you drop a winter course, then you may need to pick up a new course for the summer term to replace it so that you can continue to be eligible to graduate if you're graduating for this year. However, again, don't forget, if OSAP is part of your funding, that you still need to be in that 60% course load in the winter term too. Unless the class is extra to your degree requirements, you will need to figure out a plan for how to make up those units. If it's an elective, it can be replaced with almost anything. If it's specific to your plan, you may have to take the same course, or you may have to take a course from a grouping. So you've got grouping to choose from. If you aren't sure where the course fits, you can run an advisement report like Heather mentioned, or you can talk with an academic advisor. So picking up an extra course for the winter term of 2023 may be a good option depending on how many courses you're already in and what else is going on in your life. So planning on enrolling in one or more course in the summer of 2023 term, you should know there are 3 sessions in the summer. There's 2 6-week sessions and 1 12-week session. So May to June is a 6-week, July to August is a 6-week, and May to July is a 12-week session. The majority of courses will begin in May. We don't recommend that a student take more than 2 courses at the same time during the summer session, because the schedule is condensed and so the course material is delivered in a much faster pace. It's important to know that the course covers all of the same readings and all of the same assessments. It's just in a condensed time period. If our summer classes don't work for you, then you might consider taking a course at another institution on a letter of permission. This can allow you to find the course you need elsewhere and then transfer the credits back to Queen's once it's completed. If you already have some transfer credits, this may or may not be an option for you. The maximum transfer credits for your overall program is 42 units, and only some of those can be used to satisfy your specific plan. The maximum credits towards a Bachelor of Arts plan is 12 units, and the maximum towards a Bachelor of Science plan is 18 units. Just as Heather mentioned earlier, there is no deadline to graduate in arts and science. Sometimes students find 5 classes per term too heavy for a whole number of different reasons and take a lighter course load that is just more manageable, and that's great. If you decide the timeline for your graduation is different than a full load, then that's yours to decide. If you need some help with planning, an academic advisor, as we have said a number of times now, we'll be happy to meet with you. It's also important to note that while our arts and science online 3-year 90-unit degrees are highly marketable and great credentials, a general degree is not aimed at providing students with direct access to graduate level studies. If this is your desired plan, you should do your own independent research to find out if this degree plan will meet admission requirements. It's important to think about this now, as some of the grad programs also may require that you're in a full-time course load every year of your undergrad degree. So it's important to you that you may not want to drop a course this year. So what happens if you choose not to drop a course, but then you fail it? So F grades, as we all assume, have a negative impact on your overall planned GPA and your cumulative GPA. The best strategy to move beyond an F grade on your transcript is to repeat the exact same course with the exact same course code. When this happens, SOLACE will take the higher grade as part of your cumulative GPA, and the F grade will no longer impact your GPA. It should be noted that the F will remain on the transcript, but a notation will indicate that the course has been repeated and that it's no longer being calculated into your GPA. Repeating the courses isn't necessarily always the best plan, though. If you know that you can't repeat the course for a higher grade, then it's best to take a new fresh course and just deal with the consequence of the F being calculated into GPA. I've had students who have repeated the same course multiple times and got F every time, and all they're doing is spending money. If you know that you can't face that course again, then perhaps you just deal with the F and you move on to something else. This goes back to evaluating your progress in the course. Can you do things differently a second time to ensure you're successful the second time around? If your answer is yes, then maybe repeating is a good idea. If your answer is no, then maybe it's not. Another impact of a failing grade is that you could be placed on academic probation, or you could even be required to withdraw from your studies, depending on how low your GPA is. 1 or 2 fails during your academic career shouldn't hurt your cumulative GPA too much, but it is important to remember that you must have a minimum GPA of a 1.6 in both your plan requirements and in your overall or cumulative GPA. So it's very important that you're as successful as possible, as it can sometimes be harder to increase cumulative GPA if your grades are consistently low. If you are an interest student and you think you're failing your current courses or have already failed 3 units, it is very important that you consider dropping your course. In order to progress through the interest student pathway, you must meet your admission requirements of earning a 1.6 cumulative GPA on your first 6 units to be eligible to continue to study at Queen's. If you fail to meet this 1.6 requirement on your first 6 units, you will be removed from any courses you've enrolled in the upcoming terms, and you'll no longer be eligible to continue to study at Queen's. If you're no longer eligible to continue, then you would need to earn a new basis of admissions, so a new 2 or 3 year diploma program, before you'd be eligible to reapply to Queen's directly into a degree program. The progression assessment process is done every term once all grades have been submitted to see where each student is at. If you failed only your first 3 units, then you will not be removed from your next 3 units. But you would need to come up with a plan to ensure that the failed grade doesn't impact your cumulative GPA, so that you can continue with your studies at Queen's. So that could be to repeat the same course again if it's been offered in the next term, or maybe it's to take a term off if life is too busy and that you can't focus on your studies. That's okay, life happens. Should you be in this situation, we would recommend, again, that you speak with an academic advisor to discuss an academic plan. So we've been talking about potentially dropping a course, but when do you need to drop the course by? So it's very important to be aware of the upcoming drop deadlines should you decide you need to drop a course for winter 2022 term. As each week passes in term, the amount of tuition that you get back will be prorated based on how long you were still active in the class. So you can find important dates and deadlines on our webpage and in every issue of our monthly e-newsletter. So there is a link that we'll put in the chat in a little while that shows you those deadlines. As you can see from this slide, it's coming up next week. November 1st is the deadline for this term. You can find the tuition refund schedule at the Office of the Registrar's webpage. And if you scroll part of the way down that page under drop date schedule for undergrad programs, it'll be listed there. If you don't drop a course before November 1st, but then later on think, I should have, then you would need to have to submit an academic appeal, which is now called an academic petition. And then you would send that in, and then you would ask for that course to be dropped on your transcript, but there would be no tuition refund attached with that. So I'll now turn it back to Heather to talk about other useful strategies to support you and things that are available to you.
Thanks, Pam. So, okay, so if you are not sure if dropping a course is right for you, then there are other useful strategies that help, that can support you in this time frame. So there's academic consideration, and this is to assist students in completing academic requirements when they are experiencing extenuating circumstances that have been negatively impacting their studies. So this would be more of a short-term solution to maybe help the problem. There is the personal interest credit, also known as PIC, which stands, sorry, I just said that part. So a PIC is when, so to be eligible for a PIC, a student must be on a degree program, and the course must be a required course for that plan. An elective going, wrong. I read that completely wrong. So the course has to be an elective, not a core course that is required for the plan, okay? So the true spirit of a PIC is to allow you to take courses outside of your comfort zone, but in a jam, it could also potentially be used to help salvage a course because you would get a P for passing the course instead of, let's say a D-. And the P is not going to be calculated in the GPA calculation. However, if you were to choose a course as a PIC and you fail the course, then that F will still be calculated into the GPA. So, there are still some risks in choosing an elective to count towards a personal interest credit. There is also a maximum number of credits that you are eligible to designate as a PIC throughout your academic career at Queen's. Once you make the decision that a PIC, a course will count as a PIC, you cannot change that decision. So once you've requested and it is a done deal, you can't later go back and say, oh yeah, that was a bad choice. I think I earned a C, my prof told me, and I want that grade. No, you can't go back. So PIC can be a useful strategy, but it's not necessarily a perfect strategy. So the deadline to request a PIC is the same as the academic drop deadline, which is November 1st, which again is coming up next week. So we have, so there's QSAS, which is Queen's Student Academic Queen's Student Accessibility Services. So they offer supports by implementing academic accommodations for students who are experiencing barriers related to a disability or an impairment. So if that is you and you have not already connected with advisors at QSAS, then we would highly recommend that you do so, so that you can submit your academic accommodations for your course in order to help your success. In Natasha's slide that I covered at the beginning of the presentation, we talked about SAS, Student Academic Success Services, that provides individual appointments and workshops to help students develop effective study skills and work habits. They provide strategies to help improve time management, organization, prepare for tests and exams, improve writing skills, increase motivation, and to fight procrastination, which I'm sure many of you were like me when I was a student, who sometimes that procrastination just, it's hard to beat, but there are strategies to help you beat procrastination. There is the ASIS peer tutoring. ASIS is the Arts and Science Undergraduate Society. They run a peer tutoring program that you may find helpful. These resources are also included in the midterm check-in email that was sent to all of our ASO distance students about a week or 2 weeks ago now, I think. And Pam mentioned this in one of her earlier slides, that Arts and Science Online runs a peer mentoring program that you might want to consider. So this is a program where we match mentees with mentors throughout the academic year. The mentors are upper year ASO students. And sometimes, you just need to make that connection. A friend that you can go to ask where to go and maybe how to deal with the situation that you're dealing with. So definitely there are many resources that are available to you. So if you need access to any of these or have any questions about any of these, then please just send us an email and we can give you more information. So with that, that wraps up the end of our presentation. So thank you for joining us. We hope that you found this information helpful. On the screen, you see a QR code. So if you could be so kind as to scan that with your phone and bring up the very brief feedback survey. It's very short. I think maybe it's only 5 questions, so you'll probably complete it in 3 to 5 minutes. But this really is how we can learn from these sessions to improve them, to make sure that we are giving you the information that you are looking to have. So, okay, with that, I guess we will put it into the Q&A. So if you have any questions, then please go ahead and put your questions in the chat, and we will just wait a moment. So that'll